right, we are live on Facebook, or you could be joining us on MaxPreps. That is Zack Poff. I am Steve Montoya, and today we are talking some college football.
Yeah.
But of course, we're MaxPreps, so we're gonna throw it back to when these guys were in high school. So a little Throwback Thursday.
Yeah, a little TBH. You know.
So today,
TBT, I guess.
TBT,
Get it together.
Might want to get that right there. So today we are going to be talking about some of the top college football players, and we're going to spin it and go backwards to when they were in high school, when we got to see them before they were these stars. So what games excite you the most this weekend?
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm a USC guy. So USC, Alabama, Saturday night's going to be nice. UCLA, Texas A&M. I love the Pac-12. But there's a Pac-12 game going on Friday night too, I believe, right?
That's right. Before we get to that, we want to hear from you. Leave your comments about any college game you're interested in, maybe some of the guys you saw back in high school before they were going into college. We'll see if we can get to those comments here on air. But as Zach mentioned, there's a big game going on Friday. Now, Friday is for high school.
Yeah.
So I guess we'll kind of get to this game, but we'll talk about it. Number 8, Stanford against Kansas State. And when we're talking about Stanford, we definitely have to talk about their running back.
Yeah, Christian McCaffrey. Now, a lot of people thought he should have got the Heisman Trophy last year, but, you know, we knew he was going to be big time. He led Valor Christian to 4 consecutive state titles, and he was just big time back in high school. Had almost 100 rushing touchdowns, almost 50 receiving touchdowns. So we kind of knew what he was going to do at Stanford.
Yeah, and the good thing about Christian McCaffrey, if you're a high school athlete out there and you're wondering, should I play more than one sport? Well, if you look at him, he was a star in 3 sports. He played basketball, he ran track. He's a state championship in the 4x100, state record holder in the 4x200, also averaged 11 points in basketball. So the guy is just a pure athlete.
Yeah, and you could see that last year when he was at Stanford. Now, I got a fun fact for you, Steve. The quarterback that was there with him will now be the starting quarterback at Florida also. Jack Del Rio's son, Luke Del Rio. So those two combined for a ton of wins at Valor Christian, and we've seen that emulate from McCaffrey at Stanford. They were in the Rose Bowl last year, beat Iowa, and McCaffrey set the single season record for most all-purpose yards in a single season, surpassing Barry Sanders. Not bad.
Yeah, that's pretty good. And also, at Valor Christian, he won 4 consecutive state championships. So to even win 1 in your lifetime is an amazing feat. He won 4, and now the McCaffrey brothers have gone through.
Yeah, Dylan McCaffrey right now, one of the top pro-style quarterbacks, Michigan commit, and he led them to a state title last year, and they got a chance to do it again this year.
Yeah, so that's a big one Friday night. Now, Friday night's for high school, but if you're a college fan, you want to switch back and forth.
If the high school games are over, then you can go ahead and watch Stanford, Kansas State.
All right, so that's one big game going on. We're going to go to Saturday now, but before we get to that, a couple shout-outs here. How about Justin Davis, the starting running back for USC?
Yeah,
he's from Lincoln of Stockton,
209,
California.
baby.
That's right. So we'll give a shout-out to that. Also, we have a LSU shout-out here. Okay.
Leonard Fournette, of course, was the #1 recruit in 2014, and I think he's going to win the Heisman this year.
Yeah, he might have a pretty good year. All right, let's go to some Saturday games. How about UCLA against Texas A&M?
We got to talk about UCLA?
Yes, we got to talk about UCLA. And let's start with their QB, Josh Rosen from St. John Bosco.
Yeah, and, you know, Rosen, when he went to Bosco, this is really when Bosco started to take that next level. Now, back in 2013, he led the Braves to a perfect 16-0 season and a 2013 state title when they beat De La Salle, and they snapped De La Salle's 40-game winning streak, 20-14 victory, and he put up some gaudy numbers at Bosco also.
Yeah, and you talked to their high school coach this weekend on the podcast, talking about how Rosen still comes back and contributes to the community and the school. So that's really good for the team now, who's also pretty good.
Yeah, and, you know, they got Real Mitchell now there, and Josh Rosen's a guy that him and Quentin Davis have kind of learned under, and it's cool to see guys go back to their high school and their community. You don't get that in any other realm except high school sports. Now, looking at Rosen, though, he had, 8,400 passing yards and 90 touchdowns at St. John Bosco. And he also had a pretty good freshman season at UCLA, threw for nearly 3,500 yards and 20 touchdowns. Now, Steve, in my opinion, if he was eligible for the NFL draft, he would have been the #1 pick and not Jared Goff.
Wow. Yeah, and he went as a junior. The team, St. John Bosco, under the helm of Josh Rosen, they went 16-0 and finished #1 in the nation. So you can tell he's a winner, and it started back when he was at St. John Bosco, who's currently ranked in the top 5 in the nation right now.
#3 right now in the Excellent 25 presented by the Army National Guard. Now, also getting back to that 2013 year, they went through Mater Dei, Corona Centennial, and then De La Salle, and they beat Mater Dei twice that year. So it wasn't like they're getting easy wins that season too. So, but hey, they're playing Texas A&M.
Yeah, and Simba thinks a comment coming in saying A&M will win. Well, Christian Kirk on that side of the ball is a pure playmaker, and he comes from the state of Arizona.
Yeah, and Saguaro, another team in our Excellent 25 rankings also. But when he was at Saguaro, man, he was must-watch TV. Over 3,000 all-purpose yards, 1,600 came on the ground, had 25 touchdowns and 17 receiving touchdowns. So,
that was just his senior season.
That's 42 total touchdowns there, and just 1 year. Also, he was big time on defense. Also, 5-star recruit coming out of Saguaro. And they were 27-1 his last 2 years there?
Yeah, so he won 2 consecutive state titles as well. And the thing about a lot of these guys you see at the college level, they may be playing a position that they really didn't play that much of. Kirk is an exception. He played all over the field.
And you rock lime green shoes like that, you know you're big time.
You gotta be good, And so these guys sometimes would line up at quarterback, even though they're receivers. Kirk played running back a lot. So when you got somebody like that on your team and you're a high school coach, you're gonna put them wherever the ball is, right?
Hey, we're gonna just get the ball to Kirk here. Let's just go ahead and do that now. At A&M too, Coach Sumlin got the freshman the rock a lot. He had over 1,000 yards receiving, 7 touchdowns, and he was must-watch TV too on special teams. Had 2 punt return touchdowns, and he kind of did the same role at A&M as he did at Saguaro, which just shows you the type of athlete Christian Kirk is. Kid's a straight baller.
All right, so we're gonna get to the big game according to you.
What game we get to, huh?
On Saturday. But before we get to that, a couple shout-outs here. We have Go Bama, Roll Tide. So
come on, man.
As we,
as
Mark says, Go Bama. So why don't we jump into this game? We're talking about number 20 USC against number 1 Alabama, and let's start it off with JuJu Smith from USC. What do you like about him back in his days at Long Beach Poly?
He really showed what type of athlete he was. Now, the scary thing is when he was at Poly, more teams were recruiting him as a cornerback and a defensive back, but it seems like SC made the right call, let him play wide receiver. Now at Poly, he was a 2-way star. He was the Cal High Sports All-State First Team selection as a senior. As a junior, he played every game. He was a little banged up the senior year. He was a Cal High Sports Junior of the Year, also a MaxPreps All-State Division I First Team selection. And in 2012, he actually helped lead Poly to the Pac-5 Division Championship and winning the CIF Southern Section Pac-5 is no joke, obviously.
Yeah, and Long Beach Poly is a school that just produces talent year after year, and JuJu Smith was one of the best to come through Poly. That's saying a lot. There's so many guys going to the NFL from Long Beach Poly and so on. So JuJu's definitely a great player from a great school there.
And SC's always had big-time wide receivers. Now, last year, he had 89 receptions for nearly 1,500 yards. And his 89 grabs were 7th most in a single season in USC history. You're looking at, receiving cores of Lynn Swan, Keyshawn Johnson. The list goes on. Marquise Lee and JuJu Smith ranks right up there with some of the top receivers ever to ball at USC. I got USC on Saturday too. Let me just throw that out there. Let's go.
Of course you do. Hey, we're not biased in the high school realm.
No.
But I guess when it comes to college,
I don't do college football rankings, so I could be as biased as I want. So.
All right. So if you're just joining us, we're talking about some of the big college football games, but we're putting a spin on it, and we're talking about some of the top players back in high school. Now we go to Alabama.
They got a beast at wideout.
Yeah, they do, and that's Calvin Ridley, and we've seen him since he was in high school. We knew this kid would be good.
Yeah, and coming out of Monarch High School down in Florida, number 11 overall recruit on 24/7's player composite rankings, number 1 wide receiver, and he was just must-watch TV. And I felt bad for high school kids because he already had that body build,
right?
Like most kids in the SEC do. when he was in high school. He was big time, and you just saw that emulate at Alabama. He broke Amari Cooper's freshman record for most receiving yards by a true freshman with 1,045 yards, and he was doing that all day long on Friday nights too.
Yeah, he's good, and the state of Florida just always produces athletes, and that's one thing you can say about the state of Florida. No joke, tons of athletes come from that state, and he's a prime example of that.
Yeah, and just looking at the NFL last year, I believe there were more guys in the NFL from the state of Florida than any other state. California and Texas were right there, but Florida, you could make a case they produced the best talent.
All right, Ron is with you. He says he's got SC on Saturday.
Let's go, Ron.
That's well.
my guy.
So we also see some high school shout-outs going in there. Now, tomorrow we'll be on Facebook Live as well, breaking down the top high school football games in the country. So keep your comments coming. We want to hear about those games as well. So if you're just...
IMG Centennial. That's going to have a lot of guys. We'll be doing Throwback Thursday on in the future.
And if you're just joining us, we're doing a little Throwback Thursday here as we're looking at some of the top college football games and then going back to when those guys were in high school. All right, let's continue on. Number 3, Oklahoma against Houston. And Oklahoma, their quarterback, kind of an under-the-radar guy. Yeah. He's not under the radar anymore.
Yeah,
right?
Baker Mayfield, of course. Yeah. And coming out of Lake Travis High School back in 2013, Steve, he was the number 989th
wow.
recruit. Now, if you're talking about him, I think he would be a top 5 recruit. He finished 4th last year in the Heisman race, but back at Lake Travis, he led them to a 25-2 record over his last 2 years starting. That's in Texas, baby.
Yeah.
And he won the 4A Division I state title in 2011. Now, he finished with over 6,000 plus yards, 67 touchdowns. The stat I like the most, only 8 INTs.
Yeah, he can sling the ball, that's for sure. And Texas, now we were talking about Florida producing athletes, a lot of quarterbacks coming from the state of Texas we've seen, and Baker Mayfield is on the right path to be another great Andrew Luck. I'm not comparing him to Andrew Luck, but just an example of a quarterback coming from the state of Texas.
Yeah, and looking at Baker Mayfield too, I mean, he's got a chance also to be right there in the thick of things in the Heisman race this year, along with the earlier mentioned Christian McCaffrey. I think Baker Mayfield's right in the mix too.
All right. Some people giving some shout outs to some players that we may see in the future, like Cam Akers. A couple people gave him a shout out.
I think he's probably be a big time freshman back next year. I mean,
yeah, we've already seen some plays from him this high school season that are amazing.
He almost has 1,000 total yards, and he's played 2 games.
That's amazing. All right, so the other side of it is Houston, and we're going to be talking about another kid from Texas. That's Ed Oliver.
Yeah, Ed Oliver, 5-star recruit coming out of Houston, Westfield. He was the number 6 overall recruit, actually, on 24/7's player composite rankings. Number 2 from Texas, and was the number 3 defensive tackle. Now, he's big-time talent. He's a big boy, but he can move his feet very quick.
He can move right here.
But he had 83 tackles last year, 20 tackles for loss. And look at my guy making jukes out there. He wants to take this one back to the house. Go, Ed, go.
Top plays. That's a top play right there.
He also had 9 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 INT.
Yeah.
Wow, and a touchdown.
Yeah, big one. It's amazing to see a big guy like Ed Oliver who can run like that.
He's got quick feet.
You know, he may look slow on the college field.
Look at him. He just bull rushed that tackle, forced fumble, results in another touchdown.
Yeah, but to 90% of the population of the world, he's still faster than you, and he's huge.
I'd be scared to race him in a 40.
Yeah, I'd have no chance against him. So that's a big game. Oklahoma against Houston. Again,
I got something too. I think Ed Oliver will be the best true freshman in all of college football this year.
Well, after watching those highlights, I may agree with you.
Right.
All right, so if you're just joining us, we're talking the big college football games this weekend, but we're going a little Throwback Thursday to back when they were high schoolers, some of them just last year. So we're going to move on now to Notre Dame versus Texas.
So you're making me talk about UCLA and Notre Dame?
I am.
Okay.
I am. So you said you could see Notre Dame falling this weekend.
I did actually say that.
But if they're going to win, they're going to need Josh Adams to perform.
Yeah, and Josh Adams really came on the scene last year for Notre Dame when CJ Procise went down. But proof was on the pudding for Adams back at Central Buck South. Now, coming out in the 2015 class, he was the number 303rd overall recruit and was a 26 rated running back. Now, he had 1,600 plus yards his senior year and 25 touchdowns, and he also played linebacker. He was one of the best two-way players in all of Pennsylvania. But last year, as a freshman at Notre Dame, he was must-watch TV his last 5 games of the season when C.J. Prosise went down. He had 570 yards rushing in those last 5 games. Would have had more, but C.J. Prosise came back for a couple games. But I tell you what, I think Josh Adams will be the most improved player in all of college football this year.
Yeah, Pennsylvania is a state that often sometimes gets overlooked by Texas, California, and Florida. But Pennsylvania produces some big-time talent. Josh Adams, prime example of that.
Yeah, he's going to have a really nice year for Notre Dame and Coach Kelly.
All right, let's go to the other side and Texas, and we're going to be talking about another Texas high school athlete, a class of 2016. Kids.
Yeah, my guy Sugar Shane.
Yeah, you really like him. Yeah.
Hey, you know, Johnny Football's not what he was, but when he was at A&M, he was a marquee name. Yeah. Shane Buechele has that same type of talent. Texas quarterback, staying in state, and he's just exciting to watch. Now, a lot of high school fans see Tate Martell doing this.
Right.
Shane Buechele was doing it before Tate Martell was. He was big time at Arlington Lamar. He was a number 4 dual threat quarterback coming out of the 2016 class. He finished his high school career with over 6,000 passing yards, 73 touchdowns. He also ran for nearly 2,000 on the ground to go to 21 more scores. This kid is big time. Now, Steve, do you want a bold prediction?
Yeah, I want to hear it.
Shane Buechele will be a top 5 trending topic on Sunday night when they upset number 10 Notre Dame. Book it.
Well, watching these highlights, you kind of forget how good these kids were just last year in high school, and it seems impossible for high school athletes to stop a player like Shane, and now we'll get to see it in prime time, and we'll get to watch
Sunday night too.
Yeah, that's big time right before the NFL season gets going, so the college football is on the bright stage, kind of like how high school was last weekend when everybody got to see how amazing some of these high school kids are. You get to see that now at college level, and the fun thing about what we get to do at MaxPreps is we get to see these kids before they're primetime stars and stuff like that, so it's fun to look back. What we were doing is just looking back at some of the top college players back when they were prep stars, because this weekend is going to be one of those weekends where I could see you, Zach, sitting on your couch for like 48 hours straight, doing nothing but watching football.
We got games on even Monday, so let's make it 72 hours, all right?
All right, but it all starts with high school football. That kicks us off. Tomorrow we will be on Facebook Live breaking down some of the top high school football games.
We do. I mean, for example, Denton Guyer DeSoto didn't even crack the list, so that just shows you the slate that we got for top 10 games of the week.
Yeah, and many of these kids we're going to be seeing next year at the college level. All right, that's a little Throwback Thursday. That's Zack Poff. I'm Steve Montoya. Thanks for joining us here on MaxPreps and Facebook.